Hi you guys, it's MJ from All to Love. How are you? I I literally, like, just in that moment as it was going live, my hand reached over. I just did a tarot update for Instagram fam, and I could really feel how this sudden realization of, like, don't rely on the cards too much. Isn't that weird? Cuz I'm like, you guys know this is new for me, right? And it was almost like using this as like I'm a bit nervous and distracted, so I'm just gonna grab my tarot cards and pretend I have my shit together. Or something. I don't know what it is. It's not quite that, but just something to be aware of. I got to say right here in this moment. Hey, Jessica. Uh, right here in this moment, I know it's early this morning. I'm feeling this sense of, like, sort of motherly pride around the empath community, which is me as well, obviously. But with the expansion and with it continuing meeting more empaths and working with more people from different nuggets of the world who are, like, aligning with the messages, and then as a reflector, like, how it's really assisting, I would say, the empaths becoming more empowered and becoming more clear channels, right? Because I guess a lot of it, if you think of the expansion as light activation, so, like, codes, as it were, geometric coding that's shape shifting into a higher harmonic, that process, as it were, requires higher vibrational conduits of light. And so we're in essence the manifestation of that through choice. And then the greater embodiment of the light is what offers us the awareness, the clarity, the discernment. I'm feeling into that as a discernment quality as well. That's part of having compassion, massively, non-judgment and compassion, and why the discernment piece is so huge. Because it's important for those of us having this sort of conversation or any kind of spiritual conversation. Hence, to me, in my own personal life, I don't have to go around pointing fingers at people, but in my own personal life, calling out that covert manipulative behavior in amongst quote unquote good people, spiritual people, because it's important for me, certainly, and for other empaths endeavoring this sort of empowerment path, to recognize it, to be aware of it, because it's not obvious and it's not something that is widely, one, discussed, and two, even within the discussion, it doesn't necessarily make the situation more clear. Manipulation is what it is because it's more difficult to detect. Deception, manipulation is more difficult to detect. And so those of us outworking it with the emotional awareness that we have is part of the evolution of humanity. That's all. And again, that we don't hold on to these grievances and blame and attack to so-called our perpetrators or whatever. No, we recognize that we've all invited all of it in. We all invited all of these different behaviors and patterns and shades and angles, so that we ourselves can become more aware human beings. It's like a contract. Hey, you're going to go through lots of suffering, but out of that suffering, you're going to have these gifts and have these abilities that is unique to you, and then you're going to be able to share them, and have a peaceful existence here on earth. Like, what? I don't think there's a reward greater than that. Like, inner peace. I'm sure, in a sense, all this stuff, even all of our world economy, all of it is there proclaiming joy and happiness and fulfillment. And the legit truth from my experience with all of this spiritual work or whatever, ultimately me just feeling all my feelings and accepting them all totally, which includes me totally. And, like, that changes your whole life. It changes everything, to the point of almost freaking out of, like, oh yeah, I remember my old person, my old mindset, my old training, that I would have normally been stressed out about this, or worried about this, or concerned about this, or making my lists, you know, and it's just curious to me that I'm watching my own self being like, who the hell are you? Like, that doesn't bother you. And because I never imagined, because our imprinting and programming happens at such a young age, we don't fucking realize that our whole outpouring from since early childhood, I would say since the time that we go, when we start to go to kindergarten or whatever, our whole outpouring is starting to get twisted up and condensed and squeezed in essentially to the enslavement system. And so we really are unraveling the hooks and the patterning that are linked back to those weirdly traumatizing experiences of simply like, you're not allowed to be who you are, we're gonna tell you who you are, and you're gonna fucking listen, and you're gonna act it out. And then and the way the systematic programming works, it does traumatize our psyche, right? So you have to understand that if you bombard a young person, or any person for that matter, with extreme violence, that's traumatizing to a human, because we're all one. We're all unified in essence. That's the unified field theory. You know, we are all unified in essence. So the act of violence is like the most traumatizing thing within us all, and the fear of death, right? Because we're disconnected. And then most of us are being bombarded with violent acts from a very young age, right? Even the story of Jesus, I don't know if you guys remember the Jesus Bible story, being forced to watch Jesus of Nazareth when I was like 5 years old was fucking traumatizing. So it's like, we spend most of our lives just trying not to die. Like, try to fit in because we don't want to die, because we were programmed that if you don't follow the rules, you're gonna die. Like all these sad people that die in wars and die in da-da-da and die in the streets, and right? I was, I think 10, 9 or 10 or 11, around that age, when it became very, very, very critical and serious to read the news, know about the current affairs. Fuck, even at 13, I was like, whose opinion is this? You know, at 13 years old, I was having that awareness of like, one, my personal fucking journal became nothing but fear and darkness. Then two, I resented having to learn and engage with this information, because I was already aware that, yeah, but this is just one person's information that works for this media agency. And this is one person's voice telling one angle of a story, and I'm meant to buy into it like it's the fucking truth of life. And, you know, these are our early childhood, and then our adolescent. Fuck, man, we can't even talk about going through puberty in this culture. No wonder we're all destroyed. You know, we become sexual beings, but we don't talk about sex. But if you do have sex, you're the fucking Antichrist. Plus, you don't want to get pregnant, so you better have an abortion. But you can't have an abortion because it's all about, like, you know. Then I'm suddenly getting the thought of like, so then it really does make you question who profits from our enslavement, right? Who gets it when we, you know, who is profiting out of our breeding? Who is profiting out of the paradigm of just sit down, shut up, do what you're told, get preggers, and have babies? Just don't question anything outside of that. Right? So it's like there is this essence of us in this generation unraveling, not just this generation, but the quanta elite people, really, really questioning what the fuck is going on in this reality. Why does it feel so distorted and twisted and fucked up? Enter empath. And then outwork it from within the energy field, because we are the creators. We're the ones projecting what we're seeing into the field. Waking up to that, though, is a little bit of a hard shock in as far as cognitive dissonance goes. And this just means that en masse, people's belief systems, people's value systems are pretty wildly limited and or far away from the stuff that we talk about here. We talk about ethereal things. We talk about quote unquote spiritual things. Hello, Fifth. We talk about spiritual things. we talk about things that are beyond the veil, which means they're not obvious to everybody. However, with internet technology, with people like us just continuing to show up and have the conversation, which isn't a dogmatic conversation, it's just us showing up in our heart space going, this is the information coming through right now. This is the information coming through right now. That is activating the light code, which is then ultimately transforming the world as we know it. The more and more of us that agree we're changing the world, right? Yeah, we're changing the world, right? Yeah, we're changing the world, right? Okay, boom. We start to lift ourselves up, right? Raise ourselves up. And then we vibrate from the heart space a much more harmonious, harmonic frequency for the whole, which is one in the same as the whole. If you feel better, the whole feels better. And I'm not talking about quick fix pleasure fucking. I'm talking about deep acceptance and love that on a whole, whether you're high or low, there's like this deep resonant connection with the self that you are. And still, that deep resonant connection is gonna love you no matter what, regardless of who you'll be shagging in the back wound, okay? Although, let's be honest, like that kind of behavior becomes less and less desirable the more sensitive you become. That's true. So I've, as per usual, done a lovely little digression ramble sauce. And I'm aware that I did want to talk about the July 2nd new moon solar eclipse, which is coming up. And I can feel it. It's wild. Thank you for addressing the solar eclipse right now that I'm addressing, or is it something I said earlier? But you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, thank you for bringing it out of me. Okay. Oh, sex. Ah, yeah. As in not wanting. It's just. Yeah, you just can't have sex with just nobody. Also, like, now it's all shifted. I'm like, you can't. Thanks! Thanks, Leon! It's not a sweater, actually. It's a t-shirt. It's a little, like, crop top t-shirt that I got. I got it imagining, like, the festival vibrashe with, like, a little high-waisted short. Anyway, talk about my fashion sense. But I appreciate that you like it, because I like it, too. That's why I just... Secondhand eBay. Yeah, the sex stuff definitely changes, right, Fifth? Because it's like, well, like everything, like all choices, like all movement becomes intuish guidance. So it's like, I'm surprised actually at how I'm like, oh, I guess, like, you know how everyone's like a lot of fish in the sea or a lot of da-da-da. I actually find it's the reverse. The more like in tuned and aligned you become, the less you're available for the masses. It's like the more like into this 0 point gravity one becomes, I'm increasingly pretty certain there's literally like one person on the planet left. I just haven't met him, or I have, and there's like a metamorph happening to line the energies to just go gong. Solely from the lower. You mean sex? Well, I mean, and it does. It comes from the lower three chakras, and there is an aspect of the program. Now, this is something I'm discerning. I'll continue to noodle with it, but yeah, those rushing into it doesn't usually work, although sometimes it does. So we're increasingly aware of exchanging these codes, right? And what was I getting? So I'm talking about this program, the control program of the breed, humans breeding, right? Why is it so important to breed the humans to fall in love and get married, right? Why is it important for them to divide and conquer one another? And then, because it keeps the program in place, right? I've been totally single for 8 months, and it is. Yeah, well, and this is part of us reclaiming our sovereignty as well. It is surprisingly nice because you can fall in love with yourself in like a special kind of way. Like we're more tuned to the lower chakra. 100% Fifth. So like, and that's what I'm getting. So the program in the lower three chakra, it means that we're kind of driven by those. So, and as much as like when we separate ourselves, I know women group consciousness might be like, men just move around with their penises in their heads. And I'm like, well, women talking on that level are sort of doing the same thing, but a reversal. So they're manipulating the men's desire and then controlling them via the manipulation of their desire. So we treat them as such, and then we get that, right? And so there's like a piece, and I talk about this in the Fearless Life Guide, and I continue, and I'm still working through all of that in myself, as far as not just taking on the wide sweeping generalization around collective imprints of like, all women are blah blah, like some of us would have been imprinted with like, oh god, women, you're just so fucking nag, you're just a nag all the time, right? Or men, yeah, men would say that about women. Women would be like, we can't trust. So we have these wide sweeping kind of collective imprints about one another that are false, that they're not true, certainly as we continue to awaken. And yet what we're having to unravel and remember is that we project into the field what we unconsciously are carrying, right? Like not loving ourselves, or not believing that we're lovable, or, you know, yeah. Well, I would say for the most part, this is an aligned tribe, or a tribe that is aware of where there's might be energy blockages, right? Huge wave today, Chic Libre. I could see it today for the first time. I've started in the last probably 2 to 3 months noticing the veil, I guess you could say, noticing when there's energetic downloads happening, like in the ether. The ether turns into this sort of and it's not like a typical fog. Clearly, like there's some throat chakra stuff. It started to come through yesterday, as well. Oh yeah, and then this is like the July, the new moon, the solar eclipse energies. I really felt it yesterday, or was it 2 days ago? Like, like shifting gears and just being like, holy shit. Because there still can be the energy here of feeling like shit's just ripping out from under you, maybe a little bit of grasping for old. A lot of little mini tests have been coming up for me. A lot of little mini tests, like, are you going to go back to this, or are you going to go back to this, or are you going to or do you believe in yourself, or So a lot of these little polarized or contrasting tests, right, that are helping me to anchor in the truth of myself, thus the power, thus the manifestation that I've been projecting into the field for a while. Same, I am figuring out that we are moving up a cosmic spiral. Yeah, that's like, is that the Fibonacci thing? I forget, but that's like the idea of the sacred geometry, shells, there's loads of it, the cosmos, yeah. Everything has this, and that's how and that for me was a point maybe 7 years ago, I watched a Teal Swan video about that, and there's this thing, spiral dynamic. It's the fact that time, the linearity of time is an illusion, right? And then actually when we start doing this type of work, this inner work, you start to realize that you're not going forward and back in a straight line, you're going around in circles, right? So really, when you're doing transformational work, your perspective shifts, i.e. rises up and expands, because you can't rise up and not have a better perspective, right? It's view vantage points. So we rise up our energies, which in a chakra point system, you would say that all of humanity is moving from having integrated the first 3. So yay, like, so we move up to the power center, which is our I would say the world as we know it, as the old paradigm world, is the 3rd chakra integration, Pisces integration, that we've dominated, we conquered. You know, we've proven to ourselves just how fucking powerful we are, that we could potentially destroy the planet if we wanted to. Way hey. And of course, that level of power in its destructive field is assuring the movement to the heart space. And then the heart space is this heart-based relationship. It makes it more and more difficult to act out of alignment with the whole of humanity, because you're no longer endeavoring to control and manipulate, you're endeavoring to rise, to shine. There was something else that came through around that, but then it escaped my mind. I'll just double check the message again and see if it... Carassa. I've never heard of that. Is where it's at, apparently. A reading Cupid's poisoned arrow. That sounds familiar. I focus on my inner power to handle both worlds. Yeah. Yeah, Chic, that really resonates with something that came through in the meditation yesterday. That's probably why. I know fifth, I've noticed you're doing more of the meditations, or it feels regular. You're doing these sort of 11:11 and stuff meditations. So that's really nice that everyone can congregate, come together and sit in stillness or silence or be guided in the meditation. Because it's the meditation and I'm relaxing a lot as well. I'm having a lot of little cat naps and stuff because I just find this ebb and flow and allowing myself. And there again, like yesterday, I went to bed like 8 o'clock at night. I've woken at 1 o'clock this morning. I've just cracked on. I've been doing the tarot readings. It's like dense, indescribable feeling, pretty much. Megan, and that's, I think in a very broad, sweeping sense, the waves are here just describing. It's not by chance. I'm like, I didn't even know other people were talking when I was writing the book. Like I consciously didn't choose to kind of like draw on other sources necessarily. Like I've acknowledged all of my teachers or whatever. But when I talk about emotional healing, i.e. healing the karmic backlog, which to me is healing the swamp vibrational stew, the unconscious like pain body reactivity shit, ancestor, karma, blah, blah, blah. And then in my awareness, what I could feel was like, so you get the trigger hits the emotional body, and depending on your level of awareness, exactly how you handle it. So the trigger is when we can just not go, fuck you, and get triggered and react, when we can go and hold space for the energy to move through us and not react, then that's the emotional healing process. And the deeper I went into that as a process, I started to realize there was this huge, deep backlog of energy that I don't think people generally are aware of, or at least certainly that people, even in our spiritual healing circles, weren't necessarily talking about in the way that I was feeling the clarity of it. Because when I started to, so the way I discuss it is like you get triggered, and then if there's a healing or transformation or a shift that's coming, then, and you can hold space for the trigger, then you will, you get space for the trigger, then you'll start to feel the waves. So anger trigger, for example, I talk about this a lot. If you get triggered and have loads of anger and rage and frustration coming up, if you can sit with it rather than just continue the fucking bullshit loop of the mind that usually just wants to blame and attack everything for how we feel, when you can hold space for the anger trigger, waves of emotion will start to move through you. Heat, maybe. Anxiety, different sensation, you might have memory, you might and then these waves will wash through, and eventually you might get a deeper wave. You might remember something of childhood. Again, this is me relating my personal experience. You might have any host of, five, just expansive cosmic memory, and then it might trigger a release. Usually when there's an anger trigger, if we root it out, there's going to be some kind of emotional like wound, a pain body wound that you can heal, right? Yes, Megan. Hey, what up, girl? You react less to finding your channel. That pleases my ego greatly. Yes, as an MJ does do. Well, and this is also reiterated in my book, is that it's like it is all one. So the fact is, like little me writing this book, like not sure if people will understand or get it necessarily, although I kind of did. I knew that there would be like a portion of people who resonated with it, right? But there's been a lot of like witch honey vibes as well around people being like, who do you think you are? You're not a trained psychologist. You're not a psychiatrist. You're not a blah, 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 blah. You're just a fucking yoga teacher. Who dare you tell me what I need to feel? You're like, whoa, right? And then that goes to show the backlash of just how denied people are, or how in denial of people's depth of emotion they are, i.e. it's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us, right? People, yeah. And I'm no better. I'm not, it's like, I get it. I'm like, I know, it's stewy. It's, yeah, swampy, stewy. Oh, thanks, Revel. Well, and in essence, this is part of the manifestation. It's that we are all beings of light, code. Every interaction and encounter we have, we're exchanging those light codes with one another. So and if you think of moving in an upward spiral, we don't really want to be moving on a spiral just going, well, that's fucking boring, i.e. that's the system. It's like, let's just rise them to here, and we're just going to go round and 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 round, i.e. the world, that the old paradigm that we're here to shift, right? Or not, like, I'm not trying to, like, code us. Yeah, light of colors, the rainbow, for sure. Yeah, we don't, i.e. the world, the old paradigm, the 2,000-year cycle, the 26, whatever. It's like literally going around on this same, not even though it would feel like it's just war after war. It's just, and it's all just getting like shoved down. But there again, in my more mathematical or kind of scientific awareness, that's the point of the shift. The shift is dropping those bass tones, which is why they're all coming out in their full view expression, which is why we're seeing the extremity of the human condition and despair, which is why things on the 3D level are, in essence, getting worse and worse and worse and worse, because we as the species are bottoming out in our lowest vibrations. That's how evolution works. It's like that idea of the survival of the fittest, but it's more spiritually complex than that, you could say, because there is a quantum co-creative, you could say, desire to continue to evolve, to continue the expansion. And so anytime there's a quantum leap, there's gonna be the bass tone vibration that has to bottom out, right? I love that message, Jessica. I feel just victorious overall. Thank you. Thanks for that. I'm taking that on for myself as well. Me too. Me 3. Me 5. All of us. We just feel victorious. Honestly, lately, me great. I love that lately. Eating healthy meals every day. Yeah. You guys having chit chat banter. A naga, a water serpent. Ooh. Came to deal with the bankers, hey? Hi, Chris. I'm glad I scrolled up there because I just saw Leon's thing of like, in my experience, many psychologists have sociopathic tendencies. Yeah, I think this is the thing, and again, you guys feel it, but like, you got to say all this stuff with loads of compassion, because it is loads of compassion. And this is what Sasha talks about in the recent Spirituality Simplified 45-minute interview that I graciously published for you guys. But he talks about it in that video as well, about what we find is the Atlantean fire, this control and domination bullshit that we're all here to sniff out and call out and transform, is most rife and perpetuated in suburbia. It's people with well-intentioned people go, as he, in his words, like shuffling off to the mosques and the churches. Because again, the covert deception happening is that our externalization of worship is ultimately what is harvesting our energy. And so it's us undercutting and or transforming that disempowered energetic dance that we're perpetually seeking self outside of self. That is what is creating all of the distortion, all of the corruption, and all of the lies and deception. So in order for us to reclaim our sovereignty, we essentially have to own and transform this world. And I know that's what so many, I'm preaching to the converted for the most part here. But that is why we're being called to rise and step into our brilliance, to step into, no matter how scary and fucked up and weird and whatever, we have to recognize that the devil we face is the fear within our heart. The only real threat is us not having the fucking courage to feel the fear that resides inside ourselves. And I feel like that is so relevant with the energy of this solar eclipse right now. it's time, right? It's time to actually step into whatever the fuck it is you want to do. There is no right or wrong. There is no spiritual dogma. There are no effing rules. Ultimately, the only real rule is you in alignment with your heart, with your soul, coming alive, feeling yourself. Feeling goes. Hey, were we talking about sex earlier? Hey, that makes me think. I feel like July might be a sexy month for everybody. There it is again, where I'm giggling at myself, thinking about those random couple of videos where, like, I just wanted to, like, flash you guys or, like, take my top off, and I'm like, what is going on? So, and I share with lightness because of my past history with body and shame, and how I'm like, I would never, like, I probably curbed drinking for that reason. I was like, I would see girls like getting naked drunk, and I'd be like, oh my god, I could never do that. Like, but it wasn't, there was a part of me that kind of wished, no, I never wanted to do that. But I don't know, I gotta say, there's this polarity around it where I'm like, I don't care. I know, see, Revel, see, but then this is what I think about the fucking empath. I'm like, who's doing this? Somebody's like, take it off, and then I'm telepathy being like, okay, sure, I'll just take my, no, you guys, God, sovereignty, maintain my sovereignty. Like, Jesus. YouTube would censor. Yeah, I sort of figured as much. I'm like, plus I'm not somebody, and I don't know if it's my, whatever, it doesn't matter at all. I've never been somebody ever, except for maybe for like a year or two in high school, when, again, we're all supposed to just dress like Spice Girls, but we didn't realize how fucked up that is. But I've never been somebody who felt comfortable, like, you know how there's, and I have total respect, by the way, like, this is clearly my own, like, the Catholic shame and, like, all of that kind of shit, but, I've never felt comfortable sexualizing the old bod. And I know it's easy for people to do that, and I see women doing it, and I think, good for her, like, that's powerful. I've met, exotic dancers and sex workers and stuff like that. And there's, like, one, I always have just love and compassion for people generally. But two, I'm curious about it because it was always something that I never felt. Plus, you guys know I've always had, like, body shame issues and blah, blah, blue. So the truth is, like, I never felt beautiful or sexy enough. I would never be it. Who would want to touch my arse? Like, come on. Right. And I'm like, it's funny to me because now I'm like, God, women are just so fucking gorgeous, including me. But I say that, and I'm like, almost want to barf in my mouth because I'm like, because there's still angles around that, my ego feels uncomfortable with. Because I would never want somebody to feel bad. I would never want that to come across as arrogant, And men too. Susanna, thank you for the reminder. I'm like, I get it too, and I'm meeting more empathic men who totally reflect back that same, it's not like they just got their dick hard every time a pretty girl walked in the room and they were like ready to fuck, and men have those weird polarities of pressure in them, I don't know. This is the thing about having these kind of conversations. It's that being vulnerable, actually being honest, actually getting to know how guys feel when they're going through this and da-da-da-da. And it's like feeling and noticing all of these different things. Guys have all these underlying things. Like, basically, it's like the layers of awakening around the fact that all of the media propaganda is basically bullshit is like, boom. Look, guys, 22, and then 2 thumbs up. Like, everything we were told about guys is pretty much bullshit. Everything guys were told about girls or women is pretty much bullshit. We just literally inherited our ancestral imprinting. So whatever your parents acted out, that's what we ended up acting out until we transform our shit. until we actually transform our past, right? And what I'm aware of is that we're part of a weird collector of, I almost want to call us like wanderers or lost souls, but like actually finding ourselves. And even though it's felt lots of suffering and pain and aloneness, there's actually a congregation happening, which is an evolution of humanity assisting other people through the gate. So regardless of even people we've admired over the years, that things can start to revolve and change around them. Their program might well come undone at some point. Just because they're living the perfect life within the context of the program doesn't mean that that's where their soul's karma is leading them. There, again, remember, there's no happily ever after, right? In that regard, the happily ever after, in my opinion, certainly at this point, is like, oh my God, I do have love right here for me. Oh my God, I get to honor that. Oh my God, I get to live that. You know, like, yay, I'm free. Nobody gets to own me. Nobody gets to dictate to me. Nobody gets to tell me what to do. And you know, and then in this beautiful heart space, I can like love people and protect people and shine that, right? Stardust, you guys. Stardust. Stardust. Not just flimsy sparkle. Sparkle dust. My vessel is filled with coffee. Somebody put a comment. What did I say? Darren? Which I believe is relevant, and it's something that I'm noodling with. Let's just put it that way. I agree with you. Well, the regenesis is eternal life in essence. The potentiality for the human vessel is that we just become interdimensional space beings. We don't have to pick up and put down the suit, as it were. But we're having to bridge our consciousness, right? We have to bridge our consciousness into that realm, and there's going to be a few stages before we get to that energetic place. Because there's a significant amount of energetic transformation. So Damon, hey there, Damon. Damon's written, the subconscious is actually running the show, which is very, very true. But here's my perception of paradigm shift once we are risen to a certain state and accessing the quantum field, which is the self-realization, like elixir point, is that you spend, and this is what they talk about in the atonement. The atonement is, oh, hi! Chewbacca, Chewbacca. Hey, Eric! Yay! Okay, so you have awakening experiences. After the awakening, you have this sort of sense of like, oh my God, I can't go back to my old world. And so like, you go through all this like aloneness and blah, 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 blah. And then you start to become more present with the fact that you are, yes, indeed, facing your own shadow. You're facing, looking at a subconscious program that you've been projecting. Now the awakening into the empowerment and or ascension process or atonement process is a lot of what these circles are assisting and supporting one another through. In my personal experience, the atonement process has been an emotional one, whereby all of my experiences have reflected back, and then as I own and integrate them, they shift my beingness, and so that I have a broader perspective, essentially integrating those base tone lower frequencies, i.e. the subconscious, into my conscious field, making it like a super conscious manifestation. So no longer so when you enter into regenesis, no longer are you then dictated to. There's only a sense of drawing in the manifested reality, because you've essentially regenesis. You've worked with the subconscious so much that you then reverse the flow and then are projecting into the field, like what Sasha's doing, like what I'm doing, like what many of you guys are doing. We're not any longer victims. We're not any longer perpetuating the same story by pushing against anything externally. Everything externally from a certain vibrational frequency comes into our field and then gets transformed into something better. That is the regenesis, and what we as beings, why you resonate with me, is because you've kind of naturally, intuitively been doing this process all along. That's why the empath is the empath. We didn't know how else to survive. Chris P, I feel you. And again, this is the stuff like my polarity ego has like a weird issue with, but that is part of it. We are the regenesis. Our bodies don't have to get old and die. Of course, when you eat food you're not designed to eat, and you corrupt your mind with a bunch of sick thought and twisted negative thought, and you deny a hugely important aspect of your beingness, your aliveness, like, yeah, these spacesuits are gonna fucking shrivel up and die. However, when you move and you eat alive food and you meditate and you attune to the divine elixir codes, it's like booyakasha, Chewbacca Sasquatch. You are then aligning yourself with the cosmos. You are then aligning yourself with consciousness, full aspect consciousness. You're not the only reason we manifest subconsciously is because we're in denial of the self. We're all going, oh yeah, we're just the world, blah, blah, blah. Everybody en masse is basically in agreement of their disempowerment. I know life just sucks. I know life's just so fucking hard. I know my mom, she blah 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 blah. Like, we all just fucking, and this is where I'm at with people, is that people don't take time. People so easily just want it. You're sparkly, give me some of that. No, actually, you gotta work for this shit. You know, it's one thing. This is part of the fucking quantum leap, my friends, is that we've got brothers and sisters that are making millions of pounds and they're dying inside. And they're killing themselves and they're exhausted. And they don't know any better. So the part of the paradigm shift is that there's going to be a greater sway of desire for the fucking sparkle that divinity gives you when you're connected to your heart. You know? Fifth, like sometimes Revel, not fifth, my apologies, Revel. You do make me laugh, but there's another part of me. I'm like, Revel, stop being a predator on my YouTube channel. Stop hitting on other girls, Revel. I come in peace and love, but don't be a dick. Same with the girls. If there's any girls, don't be bitches. Don't be bitchy to the guys, you guys. Let's be all hot, love, vibrashe. Make all our old paradigm lover friends want to hang out with us all, because we're all so good looking. What's that fucking from? We're all so good looking, you guys. All the whole 3D world is gonna be like, who are those fucking gorgeous, shiny rock stars? We're like, you guys can have some of this too. You just have to tell the truth. Who knew? Who knew? When our bro was like, the truth shall set you free, we'd be like, yeah. And then we're like, ah, ow, I don't want to know the fucking truth. Leave me alone. It's kind of like that. Oh, I'm pulling my cards, you guys. Loo. Rebel. I jest. Hi, Tara is Rebel's girl. So Rebel is with Tara, by the way. Feels like a really divine name. I love it. Back to raw and breathing already clear. Love it, Megan. Megan Pelletier. Are you French Canadian or from France, Megan? Sorry, I do apologize if we ever have a repeat, if you know what I mean. Like if I've asked these questions and then we get like two weeks down the road and I'm like asking another question. We're like, I already told you I'm from Michigan. I'm like, I'm sorry. Oh yeah. Body responds fast. Yeah. This is something, even in my yoga reality, sans the full invocation of divine light force, things like the yoga, meditation, spiritual practices, yes, they do help us heal much quicker on the physical. I had a client I was working with, and she agreed. Like, she's 6 months in, but she's a long-time practitioner. couple babies later, yeah, she's like, well, actually, with continued practice, I've healed much quicker after my pregnancies, and I've bounced back, and da 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 da. So again, being connected to the divine ultimately like creates this vessel, which is like a supra. It's like how the movies tell us it's all about these like mutations and science and technology, but there again, the flip it in this new paradigm shift perspective, it's that you remember that we think about all of this fancy technology that we perceive outside of us. We have to remember that we are the technology. Like it is in our essence of beingness that we are the most high manifestation of technological creation. Whatever we create outside of us is an extension of self, right? And it's only because we live in a state of forgetfulness. We live in this state of thinking that we're so gosh darn separate and different, and we're not at all. Once more and more of us remember that we are the technology, we'll begin to actually be the examples, which I believe we already are. It's still just, we're still in the I would say, crossing over phase. People will be like, this is for sure a call. She's talking about crossing over. I'm like, come. Let's drink some Kool-Aid together, you guys. Yeah, it is, Marcus. I've started doing tarot as fun, but also as my... What I do love about the tarot is that I have to knock my people-pleasing tendencies out the park. The tarot just won't allow me to people-please, which is actually really liberating for me. It's quite refreshing. So today, you guys, my besties here... Oh, there's some love... There's some tough energy today, actually. I do want to do, I might go unlisted, but I do want to do an actual like energy update for the new moon, just kind of channel stuff that comes through. So there's some guilt vibrashe. Has there been some fighting going on? Okay, Marcus. Oh, I think Marcus maybe got freaky vibes from the tarot. I know that people have that sometimes, right? My sister had to stop reading because she always saw the bad thing. Interesting. See, I only ever see the good things, but... And or my mind can hold space for the less attractive things and then always find creative solution. I think this is also part of my point of attraction with the whole entire world of things. It's that I'll never leave a tarot reading on a bad note, right? And be like... Well, there's just nothing but guilting and fighting, so you guys basically suck arse and the tarot can do nothing for you. Right? No. There's always hope. Because look, I've got this card as well. And because of my intuition, because my endeavor is to always offer love, light, and clarity, not the other polarity swing of that, it's to, within our light and love, address the fact that there is some guilt and there's some fighting going on. Maybe some of us had some fight and... we're feeling guilty about it. Trust that you're in the healing phase of this. And I need to sit with this. So we have the 9 of Swords, which is a pretty heavy-duty card. What's that? What's the MJ did the Randy Orton pose? Oh, don't make fun of me, Revo. Revo, I can't to wait. What's going on? Karen, hi. I mean, Kat. Hi, Kat. Erin, how are you? What's going on, cats? Although I looked at the cat and immediately I'm thinking, what's going on, pussy? I'm like, oh, there again. This is becoming like a sexual channel. But my empathy has totally like felt bad about Marcus leaving, because then I'm aware of like people having edges with like the occult, right? Anyway, it's okay, isn't it, you guys? So basically, there's healing around a situation that some of us might feel guilty about, okay? Again, when these little general reads come out, you guys, they're for fun. And if they do resonate, that's literally just a little, like, me planting a seed of when I'm reading these cards, if the readings are resonating with you, then feel free to reach out. You can book readings for just a tenner, which, of course, is helping me support my love and offering a service to you guys, which isn't my normal rate, which is what it is for divine reasons as well. Okay, I need more cards to clarify. We have a 7 of Pentacles, so, you know, I gotta say, I'm not gonna lie, like, I feel this. This is, like, this whole 3.5 years, in essence, like, just working and working and working. and working, and like there's like this little seed, and you're like, great, fucking great, that's just been working. These motherfuckers are still. So yeah, I feel like we're getting kind of tired, but it's like we're still at it. We're still working here. This card, I'm wondering what this is all about. Pentacles are my suit. Pardon me, excuse me. So, Chris, interesting that you talk about the runes, because one of my besties here in Devon, he brought me. His father was quite into the occult, interestingly, as well. Not interestingly, but it is, because there's all these 70s men thing connected to the solstice, and like the father of time energy is dissolving. This solstice was the dissolution of like the father of time, which in essence is the patriarchy, which is like the the old walls of the law of the constructed reality. Food addiction. And our addictions are gonna really come through now. Remember to hold space for the self, because I got you, right? Okay, cool. I don't know who their Randy is, but bye, Revel. Hooray. Thank you. You were there listening to that, weren't you, Leon? So solstice, yeah, the sun, it's like the birthing of the divine. And whether we talk divine feminine or masculine, it doesn't matter. The divine is the divine in a unified form, so we don't need to separate ourselves and fight anymore. I know, this is women, like men, like we just stop fighting and like realize we're all carrying a bunch of shit. So this feels like there's a bit of burden around work or just life in general. 9 of Swords. I'm gonna pull up a couple more cards. Hi, Kurt. How are you? I saw you there, my friend. We're just having a chit chat. Nothing like, you know, too crazy, wild nugget vibe. Like, as if this is what life has become. Like, who knew, right? Hey, Anna. Hello, lovely. And it is awesome. You know, I'm pretty chuffed, because I can remember like at some points people that have had the chop out of my life, but there were times where they're like, "What are you doing? Like, nobody cares about your online stuff." And I was like, and now I have friends online who represent every day, and I'm like, hee hee. I know, is that egotistical and mean? But I still have like love in my heart. I just like, there is clearly like a little part when people put you down and don't believe in you, when you actually start doing it, you're like, haha, see, I knew I could do that, and or I knew I was valuable, and or I knew I was worthy, when somebody was there trying to go, no, you're not worthy. You're not worthy for what you desire. You're supposed to just be my fucking slave. And you're like, oh yeah. Okay, because I don't want to face the wrath of you. I'll just be your slave. Look at me. Is it pretty obvious that I'm still healing from a lifelong patterns of abuse? And it's very weird, the discernment of the energies within, because I can actually feel the guilt. Hi. I can actually feel the residue guilt of feeling like I should go back. Like the residue guilt of like, no, like actually maybe it is my responsibility to go fix these people that just want to fight all the time. Like maybe I am guilty, like, and I should go back. No way, I'm healing to the full potential, my lovers. That's right. Change. Oh, and actually I'm fully aware this card has been pulled for this over here. So this is about to change. So shall we pull one more card and get some clarity about all this heartache and toil and like how is it changing for us? I'm going to get one card Osho, one card. Pardon me, you guys. Ooh, interesting. Ooh. it's a pretty good pull, Chris. I just love tarot. I still am getting that little trigger point about our friend Marcus who just bounced. Was like, I just got a really bad freaky feeling. Like, oh. See, now I'm sensing, okay, I'm gonna move a whole bunch of light through this community. Like, I'm gonna just like send light, and I can feel there's like this little like wiggly thread. I'm just gonna like send loads of light out that way. And to him, a bubble of light for the Marcus. So like any bad vibes, he can clear them out. Oh boy. So this card that popped out, it's pure intuition because I don't even know, I can't recall. I can't recall the, you know what I mean? Like what the relationship is, the miser. So it feels to me, okay, there's this card over here, and then we have the clarifier card. So this little story here is like, there's stuff that you're guilty or you're worried about. Thanks, Megan. Are you outie? Lots of love, Megs. And then, so you're feeling really guilty, but you're working hard. You're feeling a bit unfulfilled when it comes to the working life, but there is change coming. This, oh yeah, this probably is like a Wheel of Fortune type of card. The change is coming. This card right here to me just feels like something or someone. Thanks. I know. I genuinely feel like it's coming from a true heart, love, vibration place. I'm like, I know most people, like, that's not always been my direct experience in my life. Like, people have often, I don't know, maybe thought that wasn't what was going on, but it's true. Like, genuinely, I'm like, let's just, anyway, let's stop talking. MJ is marijuana. I know. I thought that was really cool. Like, in my teenager years, when I started smoking pot and then kind of got into it, I remember that, I'm sure there was a movie, Smoked and Dazed, or Dazed and Confused, I think it was called, and they do that. They talk about Mary Jane, and then I was like, hey, Molly means Mary. Like, Molly is another name for Mary in Gaelic or one of those, whatever. And so, yeah, I worked it out that it was, that Molly Jane means marijuana, and so I felt like it was destiny. The fact that I smoked pot felt like it was a calling. Maybe I should let go of that story right now. All right, so the change that is coming is that there's this weird, dark, greedy energy leaving your life. It's a very abundant energy, but if you look at this face of them being like, so this feels like an energy that might represent a certain loss, and yet I'm interpreting it as like a positive. I don't care how much stuff this person had or how glamorous they appeared. This was not a positive energy for your life. This person was all about their own greed, all about their own, like, look at the green that they're like, they've lushed themselves with the green, but it's all just them. They're not sharing any of that. They're not, so who needs it? I mean, fine, you have all this abundance, but if they ain't gonna share, who needs it? Who wants to be around that kind of energy, right? Because then we have this, the cup of love. So it might be at the end of a relationship or some kind of toxicity that's leaving your life, and then this is going to be entering your life. Sometimes I connect the Two of Cups to this Two of Cups, I often translate it as a self-love card. So okay, if any of you guys are having the endings of some relationships, then it might be that it's a good thing. It might feel painful. As we know, change and stuff can be quite painful, traumatic, because we're healing and we're feeling and grieving all of the loss. But don't worry, lots of change is coming in. Shitty, greedy people are leaving your life, and then you're going to be offering a cup of love, and or relevant certainly to this community, and or this love is actually self-love, where we are up-leveling our ability to love self, which means naturally people who don't treat us with the love that we deserve, they're just going to take their shit and walk away. because they're going to realize that we're not going to keep feeding their greed anymore. What we want is something actually equanimous, actually equilibrium in our relationships, right? So yeah, that's it. That's a pretty decent read. You know. Ooh, ladybug. I don't know why you've put a ladybug there, but I'm happy about the ladybug, because ladybug is meant to be a symbol of abundance, isn't it? Or am I just making that up? I don't know. I don't know. I could be making it up, but doesn't really matter, does it? It's all just made up reality. We're just making all this stuff up as we go along. For real, right? Okay, you guys, that's me for today. Thank you so much for being here. I'm wishing you all a really gorgeous Sunday or a lovely Saturday evening. Lucky, I always heard. I'm having a funny moment, because there is a part of me, I'm like, what were we just talking about? Because I'm sure that's what you were referring to, right, Anna? Lucky, I always heard. That's right. Lucky. Ladybugs. Luck be a lady tonight. Luck be a lady tonight. Holy shish, you guys. Like, this is the insanity that is All to Love TV. But the insanity of Love Hot Vibrashe is much nicer than the insanity of, like, dropping bombs and hating on each other. So, love it. I'm just going to keep loving it all and having faith, because mostly, increasingly, the only downside to infinite Hot Love Vibrashe is, like, not having any grip or attachment to life or reality anymore. Flow takes over. Presence takes over. And it's wild. And it's definitely better than the other way, but it's just a bit trippy sometimes, you know? Hence why he's got to share, because we're all kind of going through this together, going like, is it just me? And you guys are like, no, girl, we're there. We're right there effing with you. Where are you? Florida, Maine, Seattle, Oregon, BC, you know, all these people in all these different parts of the world. It's like, I feel like we just passed some big tests as well, by the way. Anywho, virtual hugs, virtual hugs. You guys have a beautiful, beautiful day. I love you, and I have so much infinite respect for you and all. Boom. Love you.